Joe Biden in Ukraine. Wow, this was a surprise. First reported by Newsmax, by the way. We got a tip. Chris Ruddy reported it. And all day long, I've been hearing from the fake news how beautiful this moment was, how Churchillian, how Putin can take that, because this is happening. Actually, for me, it got me suspicious, all right? And it got me kind of annoyed. Look, I want Ukraine to win this thing, but I am frustrated about the money that's been spent so far. More on that in a moment. And seeing Joe Biden over there again reminds me of his entanglements with that country. Hunter, remember, Hunter had a no-show job in Ukraine for about $130,000 a month. If I know that, you know that. Zelensky definitely knows that. More on the potential corruption in the moment. But first, here's a little bit of Joe today, and here's another reason to not be impressed.
Unchecked aggression is a threat to all of us. We built a coalition of nations from the Atlantic to the Pacific, NATO in the Atlantic, Japan in the Pacific. I mean, across the world. The number of nations stood up over 50. Help Ukraine defend itself.
A little rough there, as usual. Can't blame the jet lag. He does that here. So far, the United States, we estimate $196 billion. Can it be that high, really? And Joe doesn't seem to understand, and too many members of Congress, they don't seem to understand that this is not their money. This is our money. And I don't think we've had a sufficient national conversation. It's been a one-way conversation, right? This money will go. I want Ukraine to win, yeah, but this is getting a little bit out of hand, potentially. Joe wrote a nice little note for the world, reminding everybody how many times he's been to Kiev, which has captured a part of my heart. I knew I would be back. Well, it was Hunter Biden's place of employment, and I think he went back for a lot of reasons. Who knows? But hey, the fake news all day long swooning about this trip.
President Biden already on the move, headed to Poland as we speak, following that unannounced and unprecedented visit to Ukraine.
A very encouraging visit and almost an unprecedented one.
A truly unprecedented trip happening now in Ukraine.
President Biden's unprecedented trip to Ukraine comes just one day before a high-stakes speech by Russia's President Vladimir Putin.
I don't know what's so unprecedented about it. Presidents have been to war zones before. President Trump went to not only Iraq, but he also went to Afghanistan as president of the United States. George W. Bush went to Iraq. Remember when he fed turkey to the troops, and also went back a few years later and had a shoe thrown at him during a press conference. This is what American leaders do when we're at war. Richard Nixon visited Vietnam. He actually went to Vietnam in the middle of the war, South Vietnam. Look, I know what they're saying. No president has gone to a war zone where we weren't fighting the war. And that actually kind of makes sense, right? I mean, it really does. So why did Joe go to Ukraine? Let's point out where he's not going, of course, the southern border. Who wants to go there? I mean, there's no money to be made there, but there are potentially a lot of votes coming in. Let's see, what else is Joe Biden blowing off? East Palestine, Ohio. That's not a cool place for Joe to be, and I think there's very little potential for profit or payback. The border, how about Hunter Biden? Has he ever been to the... No, that's not a place that would interest him either, and same goes for East Palestine. But when it comes to Ukraine, Joe and Hunter get dressed up for Ukraine. You know, I watched Zelensky and Joe Biden walk around today, and, you know, let's face it, Zelensky, he knows things about Joe Biden. He does. The whole country, the whole world knows. Those who are willing to see the truth. Donald Trump actually told Zelensky, didn't have to tell him. Zelensky actually already knew. Now, it's ancient history now, but the first impeachment, do you remember? Donald Trump was impeached twice. The first impeachment was about that phone call between President Trump and Zelensky. Here's some passages, and it's kind of fascinating looking back at it now. President Zelensky, on all of Donald Trump's observations about what was happening between the two countries, yes, you are absolutely right. Not only 100%, but actually 1,000%. Now Trump lays this on him. Biden went around bragging that he stopped the prosecution. So if you can look into it, it sounds horrible to me. Everyone overlooks this. Zelensky's reaction to that. I wanted to tell you about the prosecutor. First of all, I understand and am knowledgeable. I'm knowledgeable about the situation involving Hunter, Joe, and yes, Joe Biden was running around bragging about having that prosecutor fired.
I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting $1 billion. I said, you're not getting $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a bitch. Got fired.
Joe is compromised. Our friends and allies, he's compromised in Ukraine and in China. Absolutely. President Xi, he knows what we know. You know, the fake news can discount all of these reports from the Republicans on Capitol Hill. Oh, the Republicans are Republicans. They know what's going on. And President Xi is playing footsie now with Vladimir Putin. Yes, very much so. President Xi just might give weapons to Russia in its current situation. What are we going to do about it? Apparently not too much because, well, Joe and Hunter are compromised. China, ask Mr. Babalinsky, all right? All the stuff that they were doing over there, 10% for the big guy. So the balloon goes right across the country, and we allow it to happen. It's a pretty big deal. So we're really going to call him out on it, right? Not really, because, well, of Joe's entanglements. He's not representing us. He's not in the clear. He's not, despite what he told Hunter that time. Look at the Secretary of State. Now, this is a moment. He came face to face with the Chinese, and this is how he handled the overall situation with the balloon, weapons to Ukraine potentially. Just listen to this.
I made very clear to him that China sending a surveillance balloon over the United States in violation of our sovereignty, in violation of international law, was unacceptable and must never happen again. I told him quite simply that that was unacceptable and can never happen again, that that action was unacceptable and must never happen again.
There isn't a person in the world who wouldn't be tempted to defy this man. I have a feeling that's about as much force as he delivered the message in person, right? That's it. That's what he's got. Remember about this guy, the Secretary of State. He was in business with Joe Biden. That phony baloney Biden Penn Center where they found all the secret documents. You see the guy with them looking on longingly at Joe Biden? That's Tony Blinken. More weakness from the Secretary of State. Where is Henry Kissinger or Al Haig?
What I can also tell you is this was an opportunity to speak very clearly and very directly about the fact that China sent a surveillance balloon over our territory.
Is the State Department working on a genocide determination?
We will, as always, look at every legal possibility when it comes to going after the atrocities that Russia is committing.
What else would you describe as lethal assistance that wasn't weapons?
Again, I'll let the information that we have and that we're sharing speak for itself.
I will assume you got no apology.
Again, don't want to characterize what he said, but finally, you're correct. I underscore the importance of having direct lines of communication, the importance of continuing to engage in diplomacy between our countries.
Does that mean their defense minister will pick up the next phone call from Secretary Austin instead of refusing it?
Well, it's one of the things that we talked about, the importance of having lines of communication.
The importance of having telephones and picking up those phones. I had a 7th grade social studies teacher that looked very much like this guy, and my 7th grade social studies teacher commanded so much more authority and respect. I think he's under orders from Joe Biden to go easy on the Chinese, or maybe just sit there and take it. We had a summit a while back in Alaska. A delegation from America, a big delegation from China. Tony Blinken represented us, and the Chinese ate our lunch.
challenges facing the United States in human rights are deep-seated. They did not just emerge over the past 4 years, such as Black Lives Matter. It did not come up only recently. So we do hope that for our two countries, it's important that we manage our respective affairs well, instead of deflecting the blame on somebody else.
What do you think the Americans' delegations, their real reaction was when China mentioned Black Lives Matter, huh? Oh, wait, that was just a scam we used to get elected. Oh, no, they're using this stuff against us. Listen to the very weak response.
I have to tell you, what I'm hearing is very different from what you described. I'm hearing deep satisfaction that the United States is back, that we're re-engaged with our allies and partners. I'm also hearing deep concern about some of the actions your government is taking. And we'll have an opportunity to discuss those when we get down to work.
When we get down to work. Now, that was the opportunity right then and there to stick it right back in their face. They called you out over Black Lives Matter, tried to say that you're a bunch of hypocrites. You got to stand up for us in the moment, and you couldn't handle it. All right. Anyway, it's President's Day. Easy to forget. People just are kind of treating this as it's a day off. It's not a day of celebration. It's not a day to admire George Washington and how he founded our country and what they went through. This is like, I didn't realize he crossed the Delaware on Christmas Day. It was Christmas. It's so freezing out there. What he did for all of us. Abe Lincoln, all right? Both of these men, they have their birthdays right around now, so they combined it for President's Day. We were so blessed that these men were born when they were born, where they were born, and they deserve to be recognized, don't they? By our government, at least, right? No, nothing from the White House today about President's Day. It's all about Joe and his Ukrainian super tour. The Department of Defense did put this out. I thought it was, it's about, diversity, something about diversity. Diversity is a strategic imperative critical to mission readiness. Diversity is a strategic imperative critical to mission readiness and accomplishment. No, it's not. No, it's not. And look at this. How festive and happy President's Day. Is that overwhelming or what? And look at this little message on top. Thank you for your contributions to the DoD. They're thanking presidents for their contributions to the DoD. Kind of like an employer, when an employee moves on, we thank you for your contributions to us, the employer, the DoD, the swamp, the president's work for the DoD, your contributions. That's very swampy, isn't it? Stay with us. We'll be right back.